Hello, Curious K podcast listeners. Welcome to another exciting episode of the show. As we do this, it's all about igniting your curiosity. My name is Dolapo, and I'm your host. And today, we are having a great conversation with Dolapo Amusat. He is a tech and creative guru with experience working with organizations like KPMG, Bold, and Google. He's also the founder of We Talk Sound and the Afro Garage. And interestingly, he's a professional member of the Recording Academy, popularly known as the Grammys. And it's a great honor to have Dolapo on the show today. So thank you, Dolapo, for joining us on the Curious K podcast.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. Thank you. So how are you doing today?
Not bad. Same as always, working and getting through the day, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so let's get to meet you, right? I know I did a brief background about you, but I
Yeah.
mean, it would be great to, so how would you like to describe yourself, Dolapo?
I think you highlighted some of the things that I would typically say. I think the way I see myself is I add value at the intersection of tech and the creative industry. Because I'm passionate about both sides, I'm also able to sort of navigate both sides and use the value from one side to explore the other. So I think that I have come to realize and embrace that fact that intersection is where I want to do most of the work that I would do in my life, essentially. So working in different companies in like tech consulting, doing all the things that I do in the music industry or in the creative space in general. To me, it's like not random. It's like I'm just exploring these things to arrive somewhere. And when I get there, I will know it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a journey. So what was your background initially? I mean, did you like study anything that has to do with technology?
Yeah.
Were you more of like art inclined, or how did that?
Interesting. It has always been both sides for me. But in secondary school, I was in science, and I was like really good at math and like physics, like really good at them. But also at the same time, I was able to speak really well, write pretty well, and I was very interested in music. So used to try to rap then. uh,
Yeah.
so it was always that combination. Even in uni, I studied electrical engineering. Um, but while in school, I was doing a lot of work in the arts and literature scene in University of Ibadan. Like I was starting platforms to promote arts and writing, poetry. I was building communities around that as well while I was studying engineering. And towards the end of my stay in UI, I started We Talk Sound, which was then just a community of people around me that liked music and made music and just enjoyed everything around music. And that has now evolved into an actual serious company. So yeah, that's my background.
Yeah, I like that. And interestingly, we met at this event by Alto Ventures.
Yeah.
We had moderated, a panel session. And that was the first time I heard about your story with Talksound. And it was just
Right.
really exciting, very captivating story how you started, in the university. And you talked about how you guys used to chat on Twitter back then just to create some buzz. And you guys were just in Ibadan. So can you just get that story with us? Like you mentioned, you started around building communities.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that you like sound, hip hop, that evolved to poetry. How did this evolve into a proper company? What was that journey like?
Right. I just in the beginning I really just liked what I liked. I liked music. I was making music as well, not as a career or anything, just because I could rap, and most of my friends could as well. We're all passionate about rap, and so initially it was really just like conversations around music. It was more of that and promoting our friends who were trying to really take music seriously. And it sort of grew organically, started from University of Ibadan, but just liked music, and a lot of the friends or people around me really liked music as well. We all also used to make music, so I used to rap.
So you guys had like a band.
No, it was more of hip hop, so it wasn't like live music. It was more of like writing bars and like just going to record and trying to out rap each other. It was more of that than like
Okay.
live music. So all of us like were practically rappers. If you were singers, but it was very hip hop driven. And thing is, around that
Mm,
same time, there were a number of other hip hop collectives that influenced us. Like there was Pro Era, um, in New York. That's like Joey Badass and his crew. There was Odd Future in LA. That's Tyler the Creator and his crew. And just those collectives were the idea was very interesting to me and to us. Just having a group of people who were just different kinds of creatives. So musicians, writers, designers, skateboarders, like people that just did different interesting things and they were friends. And it wasn't like they were together because of any business agenda or anything. It was just because we're all creatives and we liked each other's music and
mm,
we like collab. So the community really started to grow organically because we started from University of Ibadan. But the thing with creatives is that when there's any space that encourages and fosters their growth and connections with other people, people just tell other people and they just join because if you're an emerging creative, there aren't many spaces that actually are set up to encourage like and support you. So when emerging
mm,
creatives in any field find other people like that, they are always very attracted. There's a strong affinity for it. So people from other universities started to join, and it started to grow like that. And yeah, for the first few years, the focus was really just on community initiatives, like making music together, promoting our friends or members of the community who were artists and things like that. But at some point, I moved to Lagos to try and find a job, and in that moment, being in Lagos obviously created more proximity with the actual music industry. Right, it's like Ibadan is cool and very serene, but that's not where things really happen. So being in Lagos made
yeah.
put us in the spotlight of the actual industry, like music executives, top media people, radio people, um, digital media people, and just people who are relevant in the industry in general. And slowly, we started to gain some traction and awareness within the industry itself. Um, I worked at KPMG for a bit, for a very short while. Then I moved to Bolt. They were Taxify then. And one of the things that helped was that I like basically became friends with the marketing team at Taxify, and um, then at We Talk Sound, we actually had someone on the team who was a developer, and so we used to build a lot of fan engagement type platforms. So just like games and things like that that you could use to either promote music or promote anything, but fun products that were web based. So I convinced the marketing team at Taxify then to allow my friend build something for one of Taxify's marketing campaigns for free. And if they liked it,
Mm,
we would then they would then give us more paid ones. And we built something for one of the campaigns, and they liked it. And then that's how we started to build microsites for Taxify. Then also artists in the industry started to reach out to us because they saw the power of the community. So people started to reach out to us. Like if like bigger artists wanted to drop their songs, they would reach out to us and say, "How can we talk sound community help me promote my music? Or how can you just activate your community to create awareness that I'm doing something?" And that's when I started to notice that okay, yeah, this thing that we're building is actually heading somewhere. Like there's actually some value to it, and slowly we essentially did more work here and there. We released collaborative albums, and we started to do more work with established artists and record labels, and Then I was like, yeah, let's start an agency, like an actual business
Mm.
thing, because it's no longer like people were starting to actually pay us for stuff. And to me, it was surprising then because I was like, wow, so this thing can actually become something that someone will pay for, like marketing or content creation or design. We used to do a lot of things like that in the early days, animation. Because again, like we had a group of collectives in the community. So like there was almost nothing anyone needed from a creative standpoint. That there wouldn't be someone in the community that could do it. So
Mm.
we started to build the networks and then help people in the industry um, basically execute solve
Problem.
problems we had. Yeah. So that's how we became an agency, and then we now started to do serious, like actual projects with
Mm.
international and local like brands and record labels and artists.
Cool. I mean, I like that story, right? But I'm just curious to know how you are able to move uh, from that community to a structured organization. Like you mentioned, there are quite a number of collectives, right? Talent. You guys are quite a number of talents with different skill set in the organization. And of course, you're the one leading it at that point. What was the process like? Okay, we're getting jobs. All right, I'm gonna pay you. I mean, how did you organize? How did you structure out the leadership? And how did you move that into a corporate organization? All
Right.
right, because for some reason, some people can be like, yeah, we started this together. Maybe I
Yeah.
need shares in the company.
Yeah.
What was that process like?
I mean that's always gonna be like an actual concern, because anything that involves different people, there is never smooth. Like people, and that's partly because people always have different perspectives. Like people see things very differently. So people also can tend to overestimate their contributions, underestimate their contributions, or see their contributions very differently from how you are seeing it. So while you think that there's someone in the
Yeah,
community that all they did was XYZ, they are looking at it from perspective that if I didn't do XYZ, maybe you wouldn't be where you are today. So like there's always that difference in opinions. But for us, I don't think we ever really had any serious issues, because the moment I realized that there was a business that could come out of this, what I immediately did was I created like a different, like we sort of separated the community and the agency in the beginning. So the
okay.
agency was like, I basically handpicked a few people from the community and spoke to them and asked them if they would be interested in being members of the agency. And we had like a very small team of like 5 people. So the community still existed, but the agency was not really an offshoot of the community. It was like, it's like you're in a space with a bunch of people and then you identify some of them and you're like, do you guys want to start something with me, or do you guys want to join this thing with me that I'm starting? And then they come out of the community to start something else. So that's sort of how it was. So while it was like that, the community still existed. We kept running. We were the ones that were running the community, but the agency was sort of a different body. So it made it easy to avoid like overlaps. Like the people that were working on the agency were very clear. They were clearly defined away from members of the
Okay.
community. The community was still remained itself. Like we still had community activations, events. We were still supporting people in the community. But if we had like a case where, say, some big artist came to reach out to us to do something for them, that would be a conversation they would have with me on the agency side, and I would execute it with the team that I had built for the
Okay.
agency. So, but what the advantage was that the community guys would still support it. They would still like, what all they needed to do was post about it or tweet about it or retweet something, or because there was a sense of belonging still. Like even though the agency was not the
Belonging.
community,
Yeah.
they still felt like everything together further amplified the movements that we're trying to create. So people were very willing to support and do whatever they needed to do to support everything we were doing as the agency. But also, like in the beginning, the projects that we were getting as the agency were not these kinds of projects we are getting today. Like they were very small, like they weren't this significant, I guess. So it was easier to also slowly transition as opposed to like a quick. change in everything. Like things sort of just slowly evolved. It's not like we slept and woke up one day and we had a $1 million project. That's maybe if that happened, there would have been actual fights. But in the beginning, it was really like crumbs. It was really like small money. It was like small projects. We did a lot of work for free, like because one of the challenges that I had then was I didn't know how to talk about money. I didn't know how to negotiate or how to even bring up like, oh, how much are you going to pay us? So sometimes to avoid the conversation, I'll just be like, no worry, we'll do it for free because we're just happy to be doing stuff that was interesting. So it was not really about the money. But obviously, I've learned to grow that muscle. I've had to grow that muscle over the years and actually become like a businessman. But before, I wasn't really like that. I leaned more to my creative side than my business side. Yeah.
So, I mean, so let's talk about the numbers now. So, at the peak of the community, I believe you're still growing. How do you manage the community? I mean, what number have you grown into, and what platform were you leveraging to keep the community engaged? Was it
Right.
just WhatsApp? Was it on Twitter? What platform did you use, or what platform you think was very just pivotal to your growth?
Okay.
And yeah, what numbers are you doing right now in terms of like the creatives you've been able to bring together?
Okay, cool. So initially we started the community out on WhatsApp, uh, and it was literally just a WhatsApp group. This was like 2016, 2017. Um, then we had to pivot to Telegram because we passed the WhatsApp group limit of like it was like I think it was 200 and something people. That 256 people. That was the height of people that could be in WhatsApp. So we had to move to Telegram around like 2017. And on Telegram, we basically got to maybe 1,500 people. That's probably the platform that we've used the most to build the community. So for like 3 years, we're actively on Telegram every day, day in day out. But during the pandemic, we pivoted slightly to Clubhouse, the audio platform, and we were able to establish the most relevant, like the biggest room essentially for Afrobeats on Clubhouse, like the biggest Clubhouse community focused on Afrobeats and Nigerian African music. Um, and we had a community of like almost 6,000 people, members
Wow.
there, yeah, on Clubhouse. So like every night we would be there. Like artists used to come, premiere their songs. Like it was such a cultural moment. Like we brought Bella Shmurda, we brought Ruga when Ruga was just unveiled. Um, we brought YC, we brought Ladipo and Buju. That's where they premiered Feeling, that song that went to become like the biggest song of the year that year. They played it for us before it came
Yeah.
out. So like
You guys had the exclusive access.
yeah, I remember when Ira Star was just announced as an artist under Maven. That's where everybody came to have the conversation. Like the thing with Clubhouse was it allowed for real time conversations. Like if something happens now, someone can open a room immediately and you see 1,000 people there discussing it. Like so that's how
And
the wave went.
get on
Yeah.
it too.
Yep. And we were all at home. It was during the pandemic. We didn't have much to do. So we would be there like overnight, just talking, meeting people, connecting with different people. Like it was actually quite crazy. Like a lot of stuff that's happening now in Afrobeats, a lot of like the cultural connections that have happened with like diaspora to Nigeria, a lot of people that are based in Canada and the UK and the US that now are actively working in Lagos or working with Afrobeats or trying to build a bridge between the country they're in and Lagos. A lot of that started from our Clubhouse room during the pandemic. Like it was revolutionary. But after the pandemic, we dialed down on like having a closed community and we decided to focus more on our social media following. So an open community as opposed to like a community that's in a specific group chat or
Group
platform.
or platform.
So yeah, so we decided to focus more on like the media side and run more like a media company. and so we started to invest more in like content, in like a content team and creating like great content that resonate with people across like the space. So we now have like across Twitter or X, Instagram, and TikTok, we have over 120,000 followers um, as of today.
And
So
that's all organic.
yeah, that's all organic.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
So there's that. I mean, we still have the group chats. It's not really what we focus on anymore, but there's still like people there. We still have the clubhouse, but we hardly do anything on there. So basically, our socials are where we focus on now. And one new thing that we're really getting into now is building a community on YouTube. So we're investing in a lot of original video content because that's what we sort of believe will be the next frontier for us from a content perspective, videos.
Yeah, cool. I remembered I saw like this documentary you guys released on your YouTube channel. Uh,
Yeah.
about is it about producers,
Oh, Sounds
music
of Nollywood.
producers?
It's
Okay, Sound of Nollywood.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
people that essentially make music for film or compose music for film.
yeah.
So like some of the we featured five of the biggest music composers in Nollywood films who have worked on like some like the biggest Nollywood films in recent times. So
Mm,
because one thing that we're trying to do as a creative company is sort of establish ourselves slowly outside of music as well. So one of the ways we thought to do this was we partnered with In Nollywood, which is a Nollywood community, to create these documentaries because it intersects music and film in Nigeria, and it has gotten really good reviews and feedback. Like we screened it on
yeah, I think
TikTok.
that was a beautiful. Yeah, I think it was a beautiful documentary. Yeah, because that just kind of opening up like the value chain that even exists in like movie production.
Yep,
Typically, you wouldn't know there is a career that exists there.
exactly.
That what I do, that what I do is just to compose sound music. I mean, when you watch movies, you see sound produced by or music by, but I mean, you don't really see it as something that's a big deal, which is
Yeah,
a very, very essential component of movies because it's about emotions. They're trying to sell. Emotion is a
yeah,
key part of the
exactly. If you
story.
watch any movie you like without sound, you would see the stark difference. But it's like
Yeah,
because of the system that we live in, there isn't a lot of attention that's paid to stuff like that. That's not mainstream stuff. So one of the
yeah,
things we tried to do was put the spotlight on people who are actually making our favorite movies the like the enjoyable experience that they are, and let people actually know them and understand what the process is and how it actually works. So those are some of the things that
yeah.
we're trying to do with like visual content.
Great. And in terms of your work so far, we've talked about some of the impacts you've made, right? Can you also share with us what led to starting the Afro Garage? I see it's also another company you founded.
Yeah.
And before we even get into that, yeah, if you can tell us like right now, We Talk Sound as an agency. I mean, what are your key services? You
Okay.
know, that you do now, then maybe we can move into the Afro Garage
Right. Okay.
overview.
So now what we talk sound is so before we used to describe ourselves as the biggest music community in Nigeria because like we're very community focused. But now we how we describe ourselves is a 360 creative company or a full services creative company. So the idea is that we are a creative hub um, that can add value at every point of the creative value chain. So we operate at every point of the value chain, which means that if we start working with an artist or a brand or a record label, whoever, whatever kind of creative or creative business, we can basically do everything they need for them to a degree. So from
Mm.
strategy, market entry, if they're trying to come into this market, to um, media strategy, to marketing, which is like the core service we provide with the agency. That's probably like what has brought us the most money. Um, we do marketing campaigns for artists and record labels. A lot of like the Afrobeat songs that you hear that are viral, that are successful, that are topping charts, like we've contributed to them getting there. We also do stuff like design, animation. Now we've added video production, so that means we do event coverage, we do short films,
Mm.
documentaries, music videos. We also started a streetwear fashion brand late last year, which is something that we thought would be nice to capture the essence of our community and sort of connect better with our community. And we do events as well, like So the idea is that,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, one more thing, we have a music distribution and label services arm for emerging artists who may not be able to come to us as clients to pay us for our services, but who we believe in their music, so we're willing to work with them and take royalties instead of like them paying cash. So
Upfront cash.
yeah, so when you look at that bouquet of services, you realize that what we're trying to really achieve is get to a point where we're a true 360 company. Like we can,
Mm.
from conceptualization or ideation to strategy to execution, we can do everything. And I think that that's sort of how you have to operate to be very successful in this market. Different kinds of clients, different kinds of organizations, whether it's governments, whether it's um, like Nike today or like a tech company tomorrow. So far as their goal is centered around reaching and connecting with young Africans in which whatever way we can sit down with them and sort of come up with a strategy based on what their brand does or
To
what they
do
do as a
that.
company, and then figure it out and help them execute it as well.
Yeah, and that's the future, right? Uh, Talking about how young Africa is. Africa is the youngest population. We're expected to double our population. The average age of a Nigerian and an African is probably 18 years old or something. So that just shows, how young we are as a continent. And if you guys understand, that demography, I think you're playing a very valuable role, in shaping culture, and driving a whole lot of impact going forward. Have you ever thought of maybe being acquired by a record label company sometime and say, hey, you guys, we want you?
I mean, I've thought of many things,
Because yeah,
but I,
yeah,
I
because
don't
I
know.
mean
I
that's
think it's just
possible
like,
based on what you're doing. And
yeah, if we get the right partner, like me, my own has always been like the right partner. Like the day that the right person comes to me and sends me an email, or I meet the person somewhere with like a proposal and opportunity that I think will help us get to where we're going. Then I'm open to those sorts of partnerships, like or acquisitions, investments, whatever. Like the conversation at least will be had at the right time. I think that now we're still in the place where we're proving like for some of the things that we're doing, we already have proofs of concepts and we're already beyond. Like we're in like revenue, even in profits. One of the reasons why I started the Afro Garage was because of my experience with building We Talk Sound and other creative ventures that I've worked on. Actually, it's not just We Talk Sound. I have been a part of some other creative ventures, not in music, um, but in other creative fields. We Talk Sound is just the one that people know me with the most. But
mm,
um, I think having all of that experience and being someone who understands how tech works because of my work in tech and my relationships with a lot of people in tech and just navigating through the tech ecosystem and seeing how the tech has leveraged um, all the available resources with like digital transformation, access to the internet and knowledge, and just being trying to be at par with other tech ecosystems across the world. I felt like the creative space had a lot to potentially learn from the tech startup space in terms of like how to secure more capital, how to position properly for acquisitions, how to um, structure better and build better businesses that are investable, etc. So, and I felt like a lot of the VCs and financiers and financing platforms or processes available were not paying attention to the creative space, and that's why I started the Afro Garage to really understand and play my own part in solving that problem.
So do you guys invest? Is this like an angel network? So do you invest in any creative ideas? Maybe like a platform trying to optimize distribution. So is it like an investment platform where you
Right.
provide advisory support for
So,
startup building in that space?
when I started out, it was very experimental because again, I identified that this was not something that was really happening, at least not at scale.
Mm,
So there had to be a number of challenges. So the first thing for me was to really figure out why people aren't investing in the creative space or why the creative space doesn't have structure in terms of financing like some other industries. So I first thing I did was have a lot of conversations with like lots of stakeholders. So I spoke with like VCs, I spoke with people in government, I spoke with like the IFC people there, I spoke with people in finance, in banks, just to understand like what kind of companies would you invest in the creative space? Do you even understand how the creative space works? Why are you
mm,
not investing in the creative space? And a lot of the learnings I took there were that people are interested in the creative space and they see what's going on there. They see the success and the growth from afar, but on the investor side, investors don't understand how it works, and they're not confident about recouping their investments or getting ROI because of a lack of understanding of how exactly it works. They also don't understand how to I guess figure out who to invest in, like who is investable. Like music, for instance, it's hard. Like a lot of things are very based on like heuristics. It's not like finance that's very by the book. Like if someone were to ask you to invest in an artist or invest in a record label, like what are the parameters you would look at to in an early stage one? What are the parameters you look at
mm.
to project potential success? There isn't a lot of hard metrics that you can look at. You have to, so it's very risky. It's like high risk, well, sort of high reward. So I learned that
Mm,
from talking to all these people. Also, the lack of structure in the industry in general, meaning you'd find companies who establish companies in the creative space but have no actual books, have no records of anything. Um, Teams have no structure. It's just vibes. So, but on the other side, on the startup or establishment side, I also, I worked with quite a few of them from a consulting advisory standpoint, and I still do that. So that's largely like what I do with the Afro Garage now. It's more helping founders figure out, or people who are building the space in general, figure out how exactly to make their businesses more investable, how to structure better, helping them even understand the kinds of opportunities that are available to them, learning. So yeah, on the startup side, um, the major thing that I've been working on regarding Afro Garage has been actually working with founders, builders, and operators of creative leaning companies to help them figure out how to structure better, how to um, improve their operations with tech, and how to position better for potential financing. So that's something that I've worked on with a number of startups in this space. So my learning ultimately from the Afro Garage has been so far that there's there's challenges on both sides. On investor side, and you need to do a lot of education for the investors, and you also need to do a lot of venture building and hand holding for some of the startups to help them figure out how to become investable, and then both parties can meet in the middle somewhere. So I think that the space is still pretty nascent, it's still pretty early, um, and I
Mm.
guess that's why investors are not super keen yet. But there also are, there's slowly some developments. Like Sony Ventures is has a fund for Africa. I think it's $10 million to invest in just creative ventures. And I know the government also has the Dice. Um, I think it's called Dice. There's this fund that
Yeah,
government has.
I, I I
iDice, okay,
dice.
iDice, yeah,
Yeah,
for creative and tech ventures. So
tech. Yeah,
yeah, it's booming. It's beginning to boom rather. It's beginning to grow, and the long term play for me with the Afro Garage is really to become like that platform that helps build several sustainable creative tech ventures.
cool. Yeah, I like that. And I mean, while you were talking about this, I just remember the recent acquisition. I think Maven Record was acquired by Universal. That was
Yeah,
earlier in the year. It was like 2 months ago or thereabout.
yeah. The news is out, but the deal is only going to be completed or projected to be completed at the end of the year. So it's actually not done yet. They're still doing like due diligence and all of that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
obviously, yeah, but
So
yeah, that's
why
the
do
last
people
one.
announce deals?
Oh, go on. Oh, why do people are
When
not?
is yet to be closed?
I don't know. I'm sure
So
they
let
have their
them close
reasons.
the deals before.
I'm sure they have their reasons. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
privy to
yeah,
their
absolutely.
internal workings, but yeah, it's actually stated in a lot
Yeah,
of like the press statements. You will see that the deal's not done
yeah,
yet. That it's still ongoing, so it hasn't actually happened as of now.
yeah. But I think that's a very exciting news. I think it was the same pattern when Paystack was acquired. When the news came
Yeah.
out, it was
Yes.
stated that the deal, yeah, was still ongoing,
Yes.
and all
It
that,
sets a great precedence.
pending for some.
Like having a record label get acquired by a major label.
Yeah.
I think that's like the first of that kind of deal at that scale. We've seen a lot of joint ventures, but joint ventures are pretty different from what's happening here. With joint ventures, they're just partnerships that have a time frame and a financial commitment attached to them. But this one is like Universal is actually going to be a majority shareholder in Maven long term, like forever. It's not a let's partner for 5 years and see what comes out of it. This is like we're actually
It's ownership.
it's like ownership forever, and that's a big deal because
Yeah.
that means that Maven gets plugged into the extremely powerful engine of Universal Music, which is the biggest music company in the world. Um, and yeah, that also has a lot of positives for Afrobeats. That just means that Afrobeats is gonna become like a staple genre or a staple sound or whatever we want to call it, movement sound genre. It's how Def Jam is a universal label and it's traditionally known for hip hop music. Like Maven can be that universal label that's for Afrobeats, and that means that as long as Maven is around, Universal Music would keep signing Afrobeat artists.
Yeah. So let's talk about how technology is impacting creative. Oh my God.
Like when people ask this question, I think many times it seems like the expected answer is usually some grand, like Hmm. Okay. I think that it's always a matter of perspective. So I choose to personally like be aware of the potential downsides, but focus more on the upsides of like what tech is doing or will do for creatives. Um, I know that the world is still trying to figure out what all these new technologies and all these new things mean and how they'll have an effect um, on the future in and
Yeah.
the challenges that they will bring. So I don't expect those things to be figured out in one day or 1 year even. I feel like the kind of technologies that we are coming up with in this world now are so transformative that there are things that we could only have imagined years ago. Maybe we couldn't even have imagined them years ago. But on the positive side, I feel like what's happening is that access to digital platforms, to the internet and information and social media has sort of or is sort of leveling the playing ground in some way where
Mm.
someone who has very little resources but is very resourceful and creative can achieve similar results with someone who has way more resources. So because of the internet, like you can open a YouTube channel or a TikTok or an Instagram at almost no cost. You just need a smartphone, and if whatever thing you're doing, service you're providing, or content you're creating, or whatever it is you're selling is compelling enough and enough people connect with across the world, it can completely change your life in a short period of time. And I don't think that there's anything that has had that transformative power over like people's lives like what the
Mm.
technology is doing. And I think that for a continent like ours, with a lot of young, energetic people, I think we should focus on solving for more people being able to have access to the internet and access to data and access to smartphones and devices, and so that people are able to level the playing field because we are already behind the rest
Yeah.
of the world.
Mm.
That's my perspective.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah. So another interesting question I would like to ask is, the fact that you've been able to build We Talk Sound, the Afro Garage, and these all amazing projects you've been working on. And at the same time, you're building an amazing career with Google, right? So how have you been juggling, all these companies, all these activities together? Must be crazy, or do you have a secret sauce?
There's no secret sauce other than like being extremely passionate and almost obsessed with the things I'm building, as well as
Mm,
um, sacrificing a lot in terms of like social life, I guess. I don't like, there are a lot of things that I don't do or I don't really have the luxury of doing because I just don't have enough time. So I know what I'm trying to achieve, I guess, or what I'm conscious of what I'm giving up to achieve what I want to achieve. And like I've come to terms with it. I don't think that there's a way to do all these things without sacrificing a lot in terms of opportunity cost of what you could be spending your time on. I think that's a given. Like if you're trying to build anything successfully, you just have to spend so much time on it that you almost cannot fail. So
mm,
I think that's really it. Obviously, um, I've also been very used to doing a lot at the same time, so it's not new to me anymore. Like the fact that
okay.
I can context switch very quickly. Like I can be in a meeting about one thing now and then jump into a meeting about a completely different project immediately after and like just switch my brain from one thing to another completely in like a very, very short period of time. So I can even do two things at the same time, two completely different things at the same time. So that's also a muscle that I've built over the years because, like I said, even right from university days, I was actively studying engineering, but doing a lot in the literary scene rather in UI and in the creative based in UI. So yeah, I've also been able to work in places that haven't been too bad, and I guess haven't been too complicated in terms of
Okay.
navigating, like building your own stuff outside and being inside. There's some companies that would not encourage you to do that, to have like something else that you're doing outside. Um, I've worked at pretty nice places so far, and yeah, maybe at some point in the near future, I'll leave the corporate career to focus on my own business. I don't know how soon or far that will be. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah, nice. I like that. I mean, it's important just to know that you can do as many things that you like to do. Some people discourage multitasking, right?
Yeah,
But at the same time, you're a living example of, you know, building multiple things that are successful,
yeah,
and ultimately you just have to sacrifice, like you said. I
yeah,
mean, that's the price you have to pay, because you really need to focus on things to grow.
yeah, yeah.
I was having a call with someone this morning and they said, Nigerians, in quotes, that, we have to understand that for your business to grow, you need to pay attention, you
Yeah.
know, to
To
it.
details,
It's
like
like a
very tiny
baby.
details.
Exactly. So, and that is a lot of work. And I must also like congratulate you once again on being one of the professional member of the Recording Academy, the Grammy. So,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Um. So it's a pretty open process. Like you
Okay.
have to apply, and then you have to apply with like proof of all the great work you've done in music over like years,
Mm,
and also you have to get two strong recommendation letters from strong people in the music industry, and keep your fingers crossed and wait to see if they invite you to join. So I basically applied, and I got invited
great.
to join. That's really it. And I think more people have this year. I'm waiting to hear the new class people that are joining the new class. But I think that we should have um, quite a bunch of people from the Afrobeats ecosystem, because what myself and a few other people that joined recently have done is really encourage and help
Mm,
people through the applications, because the more of us that are at that table globally, the
yeah,
more of us can influence decisions in the favor of like our dear continent and country. So
yeah. Great. That's amazing. I thought it was just like a uh, I thought it was just like an invite only platform, but it's interesting to learn that you can actually apply,
yeah, you can apply.
yeah, and that's really interesting. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. So as we round up, Dolapo, is there any other things you'd like to share with us? This has really been an amazing conversation so far.
Um, I think we've talked very extensively about most everything. I
Yeah.
guess it's just people, whoever is listening, follow We Talk Sound and just stay tuned to the African creative ecosystem and all the beautiful things that are going to come out in the next few years. And if you're an investor, be more, I guess, open-minded towards the creative industry. There's actually really interesting stuff going on, and I feel like anyone who is reading anything that can influence culture is really valuable. If you are doing something in music, film, pop culture in general, media, I think sometimes the impact of your work may be intangible, on like someone doing like an actual product, but you can influence millions of people with the work you do. And people that are building tangible products need you to sell their own products or to achieve what they want to achieve. So I guess for everybody who's working in creative space, keep doing what keep figuring out how to elevate it to another level and be world class while retaining your African essence. I think that's it.
I like that. To be world class while you retain your African essence. Thank you, Dolapo, for being on the show. Thank you for taking out the time to join us today on the Curious K podcast. Yeah, it's been an amazing conversation. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And feel free to share this episode with your friends. And, see you guys next time. Cheers. And remember, always stay curious.